Hello and a very good morning. My name is Muhammad Najmi Hakim bin Tajuddin. I am from class AS2535B1s, and today my group members and I will present about the augmented reality for reconstruction, fractured, fragmented, and damaged remains in forensic anthropology. As we all know, forensic anthropologists frequently deal with human remains that are in poor condition, often due to advanced decompositions, complete skeletonizations, or exposure to fire, which makes analysis more challenging. When skeletal remains are left exposed to natural elements, they undergo taphonomic changes such as repeated wetting and drying, sun exposure, and animal disturbance, all of which can erode and damage both outer bone surface, which is cortex, and the inner spongy structure, which is known as trabeculae. In cases involving fire, the intense heat can destroy the bone's organic material and sometimes even affect the mineral content, leading to bones that are extremely brittle, fragmented, and prone to breaking apart. Because of their fragile condition, these damaged bones can easily be further compromised during laboratory handling and reconstructions, even when forensic anthropologists try to be as careful and gentle as possible. This additional postmortem or handling related damage can alter the ages and characteristic of bone fractures, making it very difficult to accurately assess or reconstruct trauma that occur around the time of death. So, to tackle these difficulties, recent advancements in digital technology have opened new possibilities for enhancing forensic anthropological analysis through the integration of augmented reality AR and artificial intelligence AI. It mainly focuses on applications related to craniofacial fractures. It introduces Cranial Tool AR, an augmented reality application originally developed for craniofacial surgical procedures, which has been adapted to assist forensic anthropologists in rendering and examining fractured skull elements in three-dimensional space. The AR system enables users to carefully manipulate virtual representations of broken cranial bones without physically handling the actual remains, hence reducing the risk of further damaging delicate fracture margins. The tool incorporates both visual and haptic, which is touch responsive feedback, which allow users to engage with holographic elements through natural hand gestures and motions, while experiencing simulated physical interaction with the 3D models. By implementing this type of technology in forensic anthropology, it helps reduce the need to physically handle fragile skeletal remains, which significantly lowers the risk of causing additional damage during analysis or reconstructions. It minimizing direct contact with the bones, especially around sensitive areas like fracture margins. The technology helps preserve critical features that are essential for accurate forensic interpretations. Augmented reality tools can be used in courtroom settings to visually demonstrate complex forensic concepts in a clear and accessible way, making it easier for juries and other lay people to understand the evidence. This approach eliminated the need to present emotionally distressing or potentially inadmissible materials such as human remains or graphic autopsy photographs while still effectively conveying forensic findings. It also helps students and professionals with a practical and risk-free method for learning and practicing the reconstruction of skeletal remains without the ethical or preservation concerns associated with handling real and fragile materials.
So the team has developed an augmented reality system named Cranial 2AR CTAR, utilizing Microsoft HoloLens and also Unreal Engine. The procedure of this representation. So the team developed an augmented reality system named Cranial 2AR CTAR. So the team has utilizing Microsoft HoloLens and Unreal Engine to assist in reconstructing damage. Craniofacial remains without any reconstructing damage. Craniofacial remains without it. So the procedure started with by gathering the CT scans of four skulls that had sustained traumatic injuries. So the scan generated to diconfas like the image attached below, which are the standard formats for medical imaging. So the step two, we imported the scans into 3D Slicer, which is a medical imaging software to generate 3D surface volumes of the skulls. So the step three, they utilized Luma AI NERF neuroradiance fields technology to transform these volumes into interactive 3D meshes. So this process was quick. Each model only took around 5 minutes to create. So the fourth step, the 3D meshes were imported into Unreal Engine where they were rendered as holographic models. So the last step for this research presentation. So the team created the CTAR app, enabling users with the HoloLens to interact with holographic bones fragments by grabbing, moving, or rotating, also locking them through hand tracking and gesture controls. So we move on to the findings. So the system enabled users to recreate skulls without any physical contact, which helped avoid additional harm to the delicate bones. So it also provided a detailed perspective on fracture lines, types of trauma, and bone damage, which can be challenging to assess with conventional 2D X-rays or photograph. So the AR hologram was super easy to work with, allowing for quick tweaks and alignment of fragments in 3D space. So in courtroom settings, this approach simplified the explanation of complex injuries, visually avoiding the use of disturbing images or actual bones. So the last one is for educational purposes and training. So the system enables students and professionals to safely and repeatedly practice refitting broken cranial fragments.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Nur Karisab Tisaba, and I'm going to explain about the analysis and alternative options. For the analysis, we identified the forensic challenges that it posed in the paper. So the human craniofacial remains, which are often fragile, fragmented, and burned, makes the traditional physical reconstruction a high risk. Next, the taphonomics processes, either it is weathering, animal damage, or even the burial itself, might degrade the bone quality and it can cause fractures margins to become unreadable. Then the manual handling for reconstruction can either alter or even damage the trauma indicators, especially in a case that involve a gunshot wounds. The traditional adhesive that is used in skeletal reconstruction are irreversible and can be potentially damaging. The last one is without a proper reconstruction, it becomes harder to determine the identity, trauma cause, or even to build an accurate biological Next profile. Is the critical assessment, which is the comparison between the traditional method, the 3D printing, and also technology in this paper, which called AR match. So for accuracy, it is medium for the traditional, high for 3D printing, and very high for AR match. Next, the risk to bone damage is very high to traditional, and it doesn't pose any risk at all to both 3D printing and also the AR match. Next, the time taken for the analysis, long for traditional, moderate for the 3D printing, and short for the AR match. Then the courtroom friendly, it is not for the traditional, and yes to both 3D printing and also AR match. The hands-on realism, it is low for both traditional and 3D printing, but yes for the AR match since it has a features called hand taking. The last one is usability. It is not usable for the traditional method, possible for 3D printing, and the best option is AR match since it both has a reusability and also reversible. Next is the alternative options that are mentioned in the paper. The first one is called manual physical refitting. It involves adhesive and also fragile fragments. It can pose a high risk of bone damage and low reversibility, and it is often inaccurate for severely fragmented remains. Next is called 2D radiography or CT comparison. It is good for internal structure, but it lacks the depth and also the clarity in identifying the complex fractures. And it is hard to interpret for the non-experts in the court, especially for the jury. The third one is virtual reality VR refitting. It offers a more faster and also accurate option than a 2D method, but it still lacks the court audibility and also tactile interaction. The last one is called 3D printing for reconstruction. It can allow a manipulation without risking any damage to the original remains, but the downside is it is time consuming, expensive, and it cannot be used in a real time analysis.
Hi, my name is Nadan Farzana binti Zulhisan. I'm going to continue with the recommendations for this research presentation. First, it is essential to continue the development and testing of cranial tool AR application. Large-scale trials should be conducted with professionals at different experience level to assess how effectively the technology enhances craniofacial reconstruction. Additionally, comparing AR methods with traditional techniques like 3D printing and 2D computer-assisted methods will allow for a better understanding of their effectiveness, time efficiency, and accuracy. According to a 2020 study published in Forensic Science International, AR applications in forensic anthropology reduce the time spent on complex reconstruction by about 30% compared to the traditional method. Proper training for forensic anthropologists is critical for the successful adoption of AR technology. Developing specialized training modules which include workshops, webinars, and partnerships with universities will ensure that future forensic experts are well equipped to use these advanced technologies. This will prepare them for real-world applications in forensic analysis. Universities that have integrated AR, such as Harvard University, have seen higher engagement and proficiency in students, especially in medicine and engineering. Next, addressing the ethical considerations of using AR in forensic anthropology is important. Data processing should be done on-device to ensure privacy and prevent unauthorized access to sensitive information. The cost of AR technology is a major concern for some institutions, and finding funding opportunities or establishing partnerships with forensic labs will help make this technology more accessible. Finally, AR has great potential in the courtroom. It can be used to display complex forensic evidence without relying on physical human remains, making difficult forensic concepts easier for non-experts to understand. Collaborations with legal professionals is necessary to ensure AR-based evidence is admissible in court, and guidelines should be developed for presenting holographic reconstruction. A 2019 study in the Journal of Forensic Science found that 3D visualizations of crime scene reconstructions were far more effective in explaining complex evidence than traditional photographs or 2D images. In conclusion, AR technology is changing how forensic experts show evidence in court. It makes visual evidence clearer and easier to understand for jurors and lawyers by using 3D displays. This helps explain complex forensic ideas more effectively. AR also removes the need to show physical evidence like human remains, which can be upsetting. Instead, it offers a more respectful and ethical way to present the same information.